All right, guys, are we seeing a price surge or bidders just drunk out there? What's going on in the classic car market? We're going to talk about that. We're going to make some predictions on listings on Bring a Trailer. This is Bid Nerds. Bidding starts now. Bid Nerds is your YouTube card game show. Yes, it is. Welcome, everybody. We are live in studio in downtown Las Vegas at the Container Park at the Romeo studio. My name is John Polnik, along with my partner, Michael Deeb, over there in San Francisco, not in Las Vegas like he was last week. What's up, Michael Deeb?
I'm in town and the studio's full. I feel bad for coming home. Are you all by yourself in studio tonight?
It's very quiet in here by myself.
Yeah.
I was like, we had everybody here last week. So
yeah, it was so much fun. That was awesome. Andy and Buddha and Rami coming to the studio was a blast. I miss Las Vegas so much. I was in town for 4 days, but JP, I had such a great time hanging out with you and Rami and seeing everybody, all the Godden guys, and said hi to Todd and Chef, and it was a really, really fun trip. Got to hang out with Mikey and see his new office. But forgive me, JP, my voice is all scratchy. Esther and I attended our first Christmas party of the season last night, and yours truly stayed up past midnight for the first time in a while, so my voice is a little shot. Bear with me tonight.
Well, that's all right. I don't think your voice being correct or incorrect is going to make any difference on whether or not you get your bid correct. So who cares, right? All right, guys. The big question tonight is there a price surge going on? We've seen some pretty crazy results on the listings that we talked about on the last episode. So let's get to it. What was the results of the first car that we had on the list? What was that?
All right, JP. So I selected for us a 2020 Alfa Romeo 4C Spider. And this is a special edition of the 4C Spider. It's the 33 Stradale Tributo, one of 33 Tributo models made. And this one is number 10, showing 2,400 miles and listed on Doug DeMiro's Cars and Bids auction site. The car is on a clean California title. And the big news here is, Alfa tried to make this big comeback, and they brought out some really cool high-performance cars, and they got rave reviews. But I can't say, and I don't think anybody at Fiat or Alfa Romeo would say, that they've been a commercial success returning to North America. And slowly but surely, Alfa has been dropping models as them, and along with everybody else at Stellantis, has been pulling back and pulling back and pulling back. I believe the 4C is dead or just about dead. But on its way out, they made this special edition, which is just a host of cosmetic makeovers with fancy paint and gold wheels and all this other nonsense. And we wondered, as 4Cs continue to depreciate, if this limited edition car that they made, because again, they only made 33, would hold its value. So John, without further ado, when we look at the prices of the Alfa 4C Spider, I took the averages of the 4 results of the 33s that have sold in the secondary market, according to classic.com. And I got a number of $141,750. JP, I put my bid on this one because this car has higher mileage at just 2,400 miles than the 4 previous sales. So I put my number at $133,000. You took the under at $113,000, $113,033. Andy, who joined us in studio, championed with $121,000, a little bit above you, and Rami cut him off at just $120,000. JP, the car did better than all of us and better than the average of those previous 4 sales. Our car hammered and sold for $145,000 on a whopping 54 bids. So the seller of this car got Christmas early, because I would say, JP, that's more than all the money. That's really, really well sold. If these cars continue to appreciate, we can say it's well built because it still looks like it's in excellent condition and has very low collectible miles. Chances are the guy who bought this car for that price is not likely to drive it. He's going to speculate on the market of this thing. So if they continue to go up, it's probably well bought. But for now, right now, today, I would say it's really well sold, and that guy kind of overpaid for that car. Not by a lot, but maybe by 10% or 5% or something. What do you think, JP?
Well, I still don't understand the difference between this car and a regular 4C. Can you explain to me the difference?
There isn't one.
It's just that it's numbered. That's it. That's it.
Numbered.
That's all?
The colorway and the wheels and the leather, they're all special. It's a cosmetic makeover. That's all it is. It's a Porsche. Write a page right out of Porsche's book,
well,
man.
That's what I was going to say. I give PCA a hard time all the time for going goofy about these numbered cars that might have something that, there's a different colored handlebar or something like that, or switch or gauge, and people will pay 10, 20, 30, maybe even 50% more for the same dang car with no performance upgrades. And here's a car that this thing went for 3 times what a regular car goes for. 3 times. Like, what is a regular 4C worth? They're worth like 40 grand. This is nuts. I thought Porsche Club members were stupid. It turns out Alfa was just like, hold my beer. Alfa fans are complete morons. Anyone who would pay 3 times the value for one of these just because it has a number. I mean, I guess the speculators. All right, give me a timeout. What's up?
69,500 is the average selling price according to classic.com for a basic 4C, but those 433s averaged out to 140. So
I gotta think that number is like skewed by maybe one of them that sold that had like 10 miles on it or something like that. Cause you see them all over the place for 40 or 50 grand. I wouldn't pay more than 50 grand for a regular 4C.
Well, and technically, we're looking at 30, we're counting 30 sales. 4 of those sales are the $140,000, like $155,000 4C 33s. So your 69,500 includes those 4 well over $150,000 cars. So yeah, it is skewed by those numbers. You should average it out by removing 4 of those at that number, but whatever.
No, I'm talking about the regular 4Cs, not the 33. Yeah. I mean, I'm saying it's if you're saying $69,000 is the average price for a normal 4C, that's way out of whack. Because there's no way a 4C is bringing $70,000 right now, not a chance, unless it's like super low super crazy low miles. Kevin Bowden is asking, does it have 3 pedals? No, none of them did. None of these cars had 3 pedals. That's the atrocity of this car. We talked about it on the last episode. Shout out to Chris Carbine, who got a Yahtzee. Way to go, Chris. He's in the run. And we do need to do a tally up for the end of the year.
I know, man. Chris is going to have a new watch. Yeah, Chris might wind up with a new watch, man.
Yeah, we are going to do, Anthony and a bunch of the guys got together and suggested that we do an F1 style tournament for Yahtzee tournament for the Aviero watch, the custom watch. So look out for rules coming in for that.
As long as hosts can play.
Yeah, I don't think it works. We would never win anyway. Are you kidding, Deeb?
I know.
The Nerd Herd always kicks our ass.
JP, Christmas is about hope.
Well, shout out to the Nerd Herd, but just anyway, because you guys are rocking it. Thank you guys for hanging out with us on a Sunday night. It is you guys. You guys are the reason why we do the show. It's awesome to know all of you, and it's great to see new names in the Nerd Herd. We got new people, it looks like, tonight introducing themselves. So make sure if you guys see a new name in the Nerd Herd, make sure you say hello, greet that person, and welcome them to the herd, because this is look, the Nerd Herd. If you guys want the real scoop, the real information on the show, if you're watching this live, we've got the comment section, the live comment. You can see the real information that those guys are putting in there. Plus, if you're watching this later when it's not live, you can still see the live comments. You can see that the real heavy hitter bidders are in the Nerd Herd. All right, our sellers smoking crack? Are they drunk? Are they drunk bidders? Or is there just a straight up price surge going on?
Yeah, Peter George thinks they are. He loves Alfas, and he can't believe somebody spent $145,000 on a used 4C. Peter George is at home in Las Vegas losing his mind right now.
Hey, before we move on from that car, I will say this. Speaking of the PCA members, the Pacific Northwest PCA Club up there, they do regular drives in the summertime. And I do want to say this about the 4C. There was apparently, I don't know this person, I don't know the woman, I wasn't there for this particular driving event, but apparently one of the PCA members, one of the female drivers who was notorious for being a very fast and aggressive, almost Rami-esque driver, owned one of these and would go on the drives with them when this car came out. Because the big thing was, this car was really designed, or at least marketed, as a Boxster killer, right? As the car as a great alternative to a Boxster. And this woman apparently on a drive to Lake Chelan, if you're in the Northwest, you know where that is, over Highway 2. Apparently, she passed a bunch of cars and hit someone head on in her Alfa 4C and apparently walked away. So
wow,
for what it's worth, for such a teeny little Italian car, apparently that carbon fiber monocoque body really held up well. And so is this car a safe car? I don't know. Have you guys heard stories like that? Let us know in the comments.
It's over-engineered. JP, if you watch them making it, they have like one of these YouTube videos where they show the factory as they lay all this carbon to create the monocoque. You would believe, if you watch them make that car, you would think they were making $1 million supercar. It's so involved. And then they dropped this little putt-putt motor in it and made like something cutesy-wootsy. I still think that car deserves like a twin turbo V6 and go out there and hunt above its weight, but nobody asked.
At least for the limited edition, for the 33 one, it should have had something.
Right.
You know,
well, yeah, just turn up the boost, like go rip 300 horsepower out of it, but this thing makes nothing, you know?
All right, let's move on. What do you guys think of the results of that Alfa 4C 33? Do you think 140 something grand is well bought, or do you think bidders are smoking crack? Let us know. I still think drunk bid is my bid. All right, what's the next car on the list?
All right, JP, let me make sure I'm doing this right. Yep, the Dodge Stealth. All right, we are going to circle back to our 1991 Dodge Stealth RT Turbo with a 5-speed manual. This car ran on Bring a Trailer as a no-reserve alumni listing with just 8,000 miles. The car had previously sold in November of 2018, JP, again with the 8,000 miles, and it brought 20 grand. But this is a very different time than 2018, and we wondered how this car and the continued success of the Radwood movement, which is sort of the American connotation for young timers, would do for this car. So listed out of Pompano Beach and looking to be in spectacular condition, is this Stealth gone up in value? According to classic.com, JP, the average selling price for a typical used RT Turbo is just $15,600. But this car has extremely low miles, and I thought it would do well. My bid was $35,000. You took the under by a bit at $32,000. Andy joined us in studio in Las Vegas, and Andy went underneath you, JP, at just $30,000. And of course, we had Rami, the namesake of the Rami studio. He was in studio, and after he got done laughing at this car, he gave us a bid of just $28,000. Well, the yoke's on all of you because this car did really well. John, it hit 40 grand where it sold on 56 bids. Really high bid count. They chased it. And $40,000, I mean, that is all the money. I mean, I'm not even sure this guy will get that again, you know? And it's a spectacular car, and chances are it won't be driven, but hopefully something like this will show up at Radwood, and it'll come out from time to time for people to enjoy it. But this car is not going to be driven, and it's weird to say that somebody's going to seal away an RT Turbo because they think it's got collector value. What do you think of that result, JP? I mean, man, Christmas came early for this guy too.
I mean, okay, you can't talk about this car without having this conversation. You guys remember this? Yeah, we're talking 90s stuff right here. Can you guys hear this?
No audio.
No audio. All right. Well, So this is from the 90s, Red Shoe Diaries. It was a featured car, autoerotica. Was the Dodge Stealth. So does the guy think he's like David Duchovny or something like that? I don't know what's going on. God. If you guys can't hear it, I wish you guys could hear that, but you should go back and watch that episode sometime. This car was featured on everything. When this car came out, everyone was all about it. I remember everybody was saying how this was the alternative to 911s. This is the car that's going to finally tell Porsche that they don't got ish. You know, you look at the performance envelope on this car, it was significant compared to something like a 911 that was retailed probably for twice as much. I mean, a basic C2 in 1991 was probably nearly $70,000, and this car was what, 30 brand spanking new. My uncle Les kept telling me, I don't know why you like those Porsches. You could just go out and get a Dodge Stealth for less than half, and it's gonna be. I'm like, yeah, but what's a Dodge Stealth going to be worth in a few years? And as it turns out, nothing, because Dodge Stealths have been worth about $3,000 or $4,000 for 30 years now. And here's one that so this one sold in 2018 for 20 grand. Interestingly enough, I was watching the auction close on this one, and at like 12 a.m. in the morning, like 12:01 in the morning, this car was still at like $19,000 and change, and then someone bid at 20. So it hit that same mark from 2018. So in the last hours, then the last day of this auction, it literally doubled. We see that happen, most often on Bring a Trailer. That's where. So were people just drunk all freaking day looking at this listing, going, "I want to be like David Duchovny on the Red Shoe Diaries"? What the hell?
That's so funny, man. I mean, it was pretty interesting when it dropped, because you're talking 320 horsepower. That would have been like 911 turbo. At least on paper levels performance. I mean, obviously it's not going to do a lap like a 911 turbo, but these things, everybody couldn't wait to go out and get one of these and rip it and drag race it and the whole thing. But man, talk about what lasted shorter, the Dodge Stealth RT Turbo being taken seriously as a performance car, or Milli Vanilli?
Well, it is. I think it's pretty funny that I've got a split screen of you and basically soft porn from the 90s on.
Thank you.
We're talking about this particular car.
Thank you.
Appropriate. What do you guys think of the results of this Dodge Stealth? Do you think that it's, $40,000? What? So this guy's going to sock it away? Is this going to go up in value, or was everyone's on crack? I don't know what this young timer thing. I get it. People that were in their 20s in the 90s want to get the cars that they couldn't afford when they were in their 20s, and now they're in their 40s and 50s. So they're like, okay, I'm going to go out and get that car that I wanted back then. But I just don't see how a Dodge Stealth was ever on anyone's list. Seriously. I mean, you had to have been like an 8-year-old. Like when I was 10, I liked Knight Rider. I thought the Trans Am from the Kit car with David Hasselhoff, I thought that was cool. But then I got just a little older and realized, no, that car sucks, man. And I don't want a 1985 Trans Am. I just don't want it. Even ironically, I would say no to that car. So I just don't see how there was any human being anywhere ever that was like, yeah, I want a Dodge Stealth. All right, let us know what you guys think, and let's move on. What's the next car on the list, Michael Deeb?
Anthony, we're going to circle back to the 2012 Mercedes-Benz SLS AMG Roadster that our friend Andy in Las Vegas was listing for one of his clients on Bring a Trailer. JP and Lee Patet, shout out to Lee. Merry Christmas, Lee, if you're watching. Worked with Andy to photograph both the SLS Gullwing and this SLS Roadster and help him bring these two cars to market with really great assets. JP, our car has just 14,000 miles. I think the big news here is the colorway. The color of this car is AMG Monza Gray Magno paint. To me, it has kind of a cigar color. It's sort of a bronzy metallic color. And I think it suits the car really well and sets it apart, because so many of these cars are black or silver and a little bit boring. I think this car has a little bit of flair and fair mileage. So with that in mind, we had Andy in studio on the night of, so he could talk about the car himself and tell us how nice it is. And he owns I think you said he has a Lamborghini or an R8 Spider
R8 manual. Yeah,
an R8 manual, an R8 manual. And he really liked this car. He said this car hits really hard, and he was surprised that this was the less refined car of the two. And that doesn't surprise me, because this thing actually makes a lot more horsepower than his car, probably about like 120 more. So the car got a great sign off. It's got great assets. JP, I thought we were going to do really well. Andy was very happy. While we were looking at the car, it had already hit reserve. So it was just like gravy train from there. I said $128,000 was all it was going to take. John, you took the over at 135. And Rami in studio went over you at 140. Classic.com says the average selling price is 139, but most of those cars are under 10,000 miles. JP, our car did just fine, and I think Andy's going to be pleased. $130,000 was the hammer where the car sold on 25 bids. Have you talked to him since the result? He's good?
Yeah, he's quite happy. It's interesting. I guess the winner of this car, a lawyer in New York City in Manhattan, owns a coupe of the same color, and he saw this.
Oh, wow.
He saw the ad, he saw the videos, saw the photos, and he just had to have it. So
That's awesome.
if ever there were a testimonial for having proper assets for your listing, this is one of them, because the top bidder straight up said that it was because of the standout images really sold the romance of the car, and the fact that he already had one in the same color.
Yeah.
And I mean, apparently to this guy, a couple of $100 just was not that big a deal. So gotta love it. Too bad there wasn't another person in there. This auction could have really hit the stratosphere. But yeah, congrats to our friend Andy for selling another one and hitting it out of the park. So yeah, he's very happy.
We tease all the time, JP, that we're just a couple of dinglings that nerd out on cars, and it's fun to engage in the sales and all that sort of thing. And we joke that you shouldn't take our advice. But there's one piece of advice that we've been repeating for 4 years. That is, if you are going to bring your car to market, hire a professional to shoot your car. Get it detailed, fix some things if you need to. You get one chance to make a first impression, and you want to make it right. And look how that looks like the brochure. I mean, these photos are awesome. Lee does such a great job, and JP, you know what you're doing and where to find all the best places in Vegas to have that kind of dramatic backdrop to really make the car stand out. Because in the end, there's a bunch of other SLS AMG Roadsters in the marketplace today. You're not selling the metal, you're selling the romance, you're selling the sizzle, not the steak. And so your photography and your videography and your marketing presentation is your best step towards getting a top dollar for your car. So excellent job. Congrats to you and Lee for doing such a great job and making Andy and his client happy and getting a good result. We implore you people, if you don't know how to do it, call us. We'll help you in any way we can. So anyway,
I think that's a good thing to say. Thanks, Deeb, for the compliments. And let me just go ahead and say it to the camera. We don't often enough ask for business. I mean, we do the show because we love it, and it's a lot of fun hanging out with all of you guys and making the friends that we make doing this show. But this is kind of our business. If you are out there in the market, or if you are considering selling your car and you want to get the most money for it, I'm for hire. I'm a hired gun. We will help you get the best bang for your buck. We will make sure that you have the assets to make sure that you get the most for your listing, and Michael Deeb will help you list it. So we are a team. That is something that we do. That is not our only job. That's not, this isn't our only business, but we would love to help you with your listing if that's something you consider doing.
JP is a full-time stand-up comedian, but I just want to tell people, don't let this smooth podcast persona fool you with John. Underneath there is a cold mercenary, and it's a hired gun. Take. All right, JP, guys. I think that's everything from last night or last show.
We've got a bunch of predictions to make, so stick around. We're just getting started, guys. Hey guys, I gotta tell you about our friends Godden Porsche of Las Vegas and Godden Classic. If you're looking for a new Porsche or a classic, you gotta call our friend Steve at Godden. This guy. Save yourself the hassle of screwing around with all the auctions like we always talk about, and just talk to Steve. He'll find you the classic Porsche you're looking for. Godden Porsche of Las Vegas. Hey guys, you're probably looking at your watch and wondering if Bid Nerds will ever end. So you better talk to our friends at Our Smiths to make sure your Rolex, Tag Heuer, AP, or any fine timepiece is in tip-top shape. Our Smiths, fine Swiss repair. All right, guys, fine Swiss repair at Our Smiths. Anthony is watching tonight. He's in the herd. If you have some fine Swiss repair needs, make sure you reach out to Anthony, or you could just say hello to him right now in the comments. He is working on one of my fine Swiss watches, and I look forward to seeing that watch soon. Yeah, he's got my Porsche design watch. He fixed it up for me because I had some problems. So thank you, Anthony, and we look forward to seeing you guys. I think the next event we're going to be at, it's a little ways out, but at the end of February, I think February 22nd will be the Toilet Show, the Toy and Lit Show in Los Angeles. That'll be the...
What's that date?
I think it's February 22nd, I want to say.
Didn't it used to be in March?
Well, it's always been the end of February, beginning of March. It's usually like the last weekend or next to the last weekend. So
in my like, there's not a lot in here, but I always thought it was March. But yeah, February.
Close enough.
God, are they moving it up? I'm like, not ready yet.
By a week, that's the beginning of the official Porsche season. That's what we call it. Set your calendar, make a plan to come out to LA. We'll have a good time.
We'll be be down in LA. So if you're inclined to come, it's a good time. We have a ritual weekend of events and things that we get done. And JP's been dragging me out there since 2017, and it is one of the funnest weekends of the year because there's just everybody's out and doing stuff. So if you're inclined to join us or be down there for any reason, let us know and we'll connect.
Looks like Randy's going to be in Scottsdale in January. For which events, let us know, Randy. Maybe we'll make some plans. I think Mikey and I were talking about trying to hit the 4 till 4 first Saturday, maybe in January or February. So I don't know. We'll talk. Let's keep it going. We love seeing and meeting fans in those places. So anyways, all right. Are buyers just drunk bidders all over BAT and their bidding prices really high? Or is there a straight up genuine price surge going on? It kind of looks like it, given the results that we looked at just before the break when we talked about the listings that we covered in the last episode. But we've got all new listings. We've got all new predictions to make right now. So let's see if you guys can do better than the nerds. Let's make some predictions. What's the first car on our list, Michael Deeb?
All right, JP, the first car on the list, I'm kind of breaking my own rule. Every time I see a car that I actually want to buy, I should have it like as a law that I don't review the car and bring it to the public and help them get more money for it. But JP, I absolutely fell in love with this 2002 Porsche 996 Roof R Turbo conversion that is currently listed on PCAR Market. Now, PCAR Market, JP, if you read the heading, says Roof R Turbo, but this car wasn't born that way. The conversion to that specification happened at 17,000 miles on the odometer. And we know this because there is a letter from Roof verifying that transaction took place. So I think it happened in 2006 with 17,000 miles on the car, and they list the VIN and the R Turbo engine upgrade to 550 horsepower. This car would have made what, JP? 415. So that's a massive upgrade in the back of this thing. It's also got the 18 or 19 inch roof wheels, which look very handsome on the car. I like the car because it's got the adaptive sports seats. It's got the big broad back seats, which I really like. In a 996, they are extremely comfortable, and they do a really good job of holding you in place. Otherwise, this is a real good, no-nonsense car. So that the conversion happened at like 17 or 18,000 miles. Roof does a letter to document it and says that the owner of the car has been servicing the car at the Roof Center ever since, which is also good to hear. That sort of helps with the provenance. Our car, JP, is listed currently and still out of Dallas, Texas. So allegedly, all of the maintenance on the car since the Roof transaction have happened at that time. And right now, the car is showing, JP, just 40,000 miles. So it's still a low mileage car. We're talking 12,000 miles since the conversion. But 550 horsepower in a car that doesn't have wild like bodywork, roof bodywork, or wings. It's hard to say this about a 996 turbo, but it's like a wolf in sheep's clothing. And not that a 996 turbo is a sheep, but if you think that this is just your regular run-of-the-mill 996 turbo, let me remind you, this car is putting out more horsepower than a 997.2 Turbo S. This thing, I imagine, is probably really effing fun to drive, JP. And what I'm thinking here is, because it doesn't have the bodywork or the roof VIN, or it wasn't born a roof, that this thing might actually transact for like something close to just around $100,000, where, you know, other roof model cars in the secondary market right now are enjoying a windfall of money. Like if you have a roof car, especially a roof VIN car, you're getting big money. They're $1 million cars from the air-cooled era. But here's a water pumper without a wild body kit that was just a conversion. It's a lot of performance and a lot of, you know, sort of brand cachet without having to go $250,000 and up. So I like this car because it's a little bit understated. It's devastating performance, and perhaps affordable. And so now I'm wondering why I brought it to the show and told everybody about it, because I should be buying it myself. So JP, I know you know 996 turbos better than I do. I've only driven them as like a salesperson. I've never owned one or been let loose in one to have fun. I really like the cars. This one seems like it's got even more to offer without having to go crazy in value. What do you think when you take a look at this listing here?
Yeah, I have owned a 996 with 600 horsepower, and I can tell you, having driven one of these cars with that kind of extra poop is beyond exhilarating. I mean, to the point where I sold mine because it was just too dang powerful. It wasn't a roof. But that's the thing about 996s, and that's one of the things that's kept them they're such an endearing car, is that they are just so moddable. It is so easy to get more horsepower out of these. You don't need a roof version to get 500, 600, 1,200 horsepower. There's a lot of mods that you can do, and it just depends on how much money you want to pour into the back end of this car. It is nice to see that roof. You know that when they boost this car, that they're going to do everything right. The suspension was done. It had the short shift kit. It has the cool wheels, has the badge. So that's going to have some cachet. But I don't really see this as a special car. I just think of it as a really cool car. I think for my money, I'm looking for a 996 turbo that's had all the mods, that doesn't have the roof name on it, because I think you can get as good or better performance improvements without having to pay the roof premium. That's the big question, is how much of a premium will the roof badge bring? And that's where we get to the bidding. Will bidders be drunk on this thing? Or is it just going to be, like you say, just 996 turbo money? What do you think, Deeb?
Well, it's off to a decent start, JP. Our car closes tomorrow, and it's currently sitting at $62,000 on 7 bids. Now, John, we don't have a roof 996 number from classic.com, but a basic manual 996 turbo coupe, according to classic.com, is a $63,500 value. And that's kind of where the number is now. I just don't know how well this car is going to do on PCAR Market. This car could easily be bid up to over $100,000 naturally, but I don't have a lot of faith in their platform, and this isn't a particularly sexy listing by any stretch. So, JP, my bid is going to be just $86,000, where I believe this car will fail to sell. And then the big question is, what are they really asking for the car? I'm assuming they want over $125,000 for this thing, basically twice where it's sitting at right now. I don't think it'll get there naturally in PCAR Market's auction. I think if you have good provenance and you can answer all the questions, a car like this should have been brought to Bring a Trailer, but they didn't ask us. So JP, 86 is my hammer. I think at FTS I think it winds up in the chum bucket for over 100, probably north of 125. What are you at with all the numbers on this one? Again, we're currently at 62 and it closes tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm with you on the platform problem. Look, the thing about PCAR Market, we ish on those guys quite a bit, but I think the biggest problem with PCAR Market is that it's not some of the sketchy stuff that they do. It's not that sometimes, their listings don't really divulge all the information that you'd like to see. The problem with PCAR Market is that they have, I'll use a word that they like, an opportunity to really do it right. Bring a Trailer is a juggernaut. It's kind of it's an impersonal machine. It almost feels like an AI bot when you're dealing with them. You never actually talk to a person. You submit your car, they spit you back an ad, you approve it, and it goes live, and then it does its thing, and you're just one of a billion, literally 100 cars listing per day. PCAR Market, on the other hand, is really, they have the opportunity to be a truly a boutique experience. They should, when they get a listing like this, when someone calls with a car this cool, that really has the potential to bring real money, PCAR Market just goes, yeah, we'll get that extra money by just grinding the bidders. They'll, when this thing fails to sell and ultimately winds up in the deal tank, they're going to be calling the people that bid and really trying to make them uncomfortable in order to get them to give them more money. And that's BS. And they're also going to try to make the seller uncomfortable to try to get them to accept less money, when what they really should be doing with their reach and influence and their ability to talk directly with the sellers is say, listen, mother effer, hire a gosh darn photographer and take some pictures. This car is brilliant. This car should bring $125,000, but I'm with you, Deeb. I think it's going to struggle to make 80 something. What was your number? 80 what?
86.
$86,000. Yeah, I'm going to take 85,996. I'm going to park it right underneath you because I'm not even sure if it's going to get that. But, they should be on the phone with the guy going, listen, pull that stupid Porsche sticker off the rocker. Pull this, what do you call it? The wannabe shark fin off that doesn't belong there in a turbo.
It looks like grip tape from a deck on a skateboard. It looks
terrible with the air scoop on there, and then the other, it looks like a piece of gaff tape behind the wheel. It doesn't even fit on there correctly. Guys, come on. These are unforced errors. This is stupid.
Right.
This is effing stupid. You're wasting everyone's time, and that's why people constantly ask me why I rip on PCAR Market. It's because they're not doing their job. They're not. People say that I don't take things seriously, that I'm too, off the cuff and too harsh with people, and I'm just always sarcastic and stuff. And yeah, it's true, but I'm not, I don't own PCAR Market. That isn't my business. If I owned PCAR Market, I would take it seriously. Be serious, guys. You have a real seller. You have a real opportunity to make something special pop, and you just let it go because all you effing care about is listing. You couldn't give a shit what the listing looks like as long as it's on your platform and as long as you got an opportunity to grind on potential customers. That's all you actually care about. So F PCAR Market. This is just a one in a million lines. Just so many listings that just piss me off with these guys. Screw you guys, PCAR Market. This car is just going to waste everyone's time and wind up in the deal tank again. So, even if you're a drunk bidder, you're not getting there. You have to be drunk to deal with those guys.
That was a good rant, JP. I gotta tell you, as your partner, I'm gonna go to bed tonight hoping that this car sells for 100 because it'll be so great for us to go, well, you gotta tip your hat to them. They pulled a rabbit out of their hat. But I would not bet on that because of all the reasons you said. It would be nice if they gave a little advice back to somebody before taking the listing and say, hey, why don't you go get that stuff off and detail the car again and get some professional photos, and we'll get you the money we know you want for the car, or what we think the car deserves.
Whatever it brings, I think that it potentially could bring more if the assets were done correctly. So even if PCAR Market does get the 110, 120, or whatever, well, guess what, guys? You still left money on the table. You didn't do your job. This car will do okay, and maybe even well, in spite of PCAR Market. And we see that happen fairly regularly because PCAR Market does get it done sometimes, but it's usually because of the car, not because of them. They're the part of the equation that has the least to do with it. So I don't know. Let us know what you guys think. What do you think of my rant of PCAR Market? Am I too hard on those guys? I'm glad to see some people are revising their bids in the herd. And let's move on. We got more cars to make predictions on. I went long on my rant. Sorry about that, guys. But there it is. I do love this roof car. I think this would be a fantastic daily driver. Just anytime you get in this thing would be awesome. So, all right, let's move on. What's the next car?
All right, JP, let's check in on this 1984 Sbarro Super 8.
Wait, no, that's not the next car. That's the last car.
What do you want to do?
Last.
All right.
We're going to do the
94 C2?
No, the Rolls.
Rolls-Royce. All right.
Well, okay,
Rolls-Royce.
you know what? Hold on. Actually, hold up. We're going to do something a little different. So how much time we got? We got 20
minutes.
So typically we try to do 4 predictions, but we really only ever get to 3. We have 3 more cars to do. We're going to do a Rolls-Royce next. We're going to get right to that in a second. But it's kind of a tie for the last 2 cars. People complain that we do too many Porsches. So I was like, if we have enough time. right? And the first one's a roof, so we've already done one Porsche. So here's the options, guys. We're gonna do this is the rolls that we're gonna talk about right now. But right after the rolls, we could either go to this 94 C2 cab, which is a car that's in America, and it's a car that we know a lot about, and you guys probably know a lot about, but it's just another kind of run-of-the-mill Porsche. Or we could talk about this Sbarro pizza slice car that's in France. It's the weirdest car maybe we've ever covered, and it's literally in Paris. So who cares? I mean, cars that aren't in America, I just think are ridiculous to even bother talking about. So I'm going to give it up to you guys, the nerd herd. You guys tell me, do you guys want us to cover the last car to be the Sparro, the pizza store car, or do you want it to be the 964? Let us know in the comments, on the live comments right now. And we're going to go ahead and cover this 2020 Rolls-Royce first. And depending on what you guys say, we'll come back to either the Sparro or the 964. All right, so Deeb, what's the story on this Jägermeister edition or Hermes edition? Rolls-Royce. What do we got?
JP, this car looks so Vegas to me. Like, this is such the crypto bro car. What we're looking at on Bring a Trailer is a 2020 Rolls-Royce Dawn, which is the two-door convertible. But this particular one is called a Black Badge. JP, I don't know how many they made of the Black Badges, but this car was ordered with $119,000 in options.
Wow.
Unbelievable. 6.6 liter V12 paired with an 8-speed automatic transmission. I mean, it does look kind of savage. Miss me with the bright orange. Again, I think it looks like an Hermes badge. I love that you saw like the Jägermeister logo from the 80s. But the car is, it's a sinister looking car. Like if Darth Vader went to the beach, it would be in this car. Let's see. They got the MSRP was $481,550. Insane. And that includes about $120,000 in options. This is just excess and luxury and a tax bracket, JP, that you and I don't collectively live in. The car is got 26,000 miles on it. To somebody's credit, they've driven it in 4 years. I'm impressed. It's listed out of North Bergen, New Jersey. I can't imagine that Rolls-Royce makes very many cars. I can't imagine that they make very many Dawn convertibles. And I can't imagine that there's very many Dawn convertibles that are listed with all the pieces like the Black Badge and whatever else makes this car special. I don't know enough about it to get into the details, and I don't really care. It does look interesting. I've never been a Rolls-Royce guy, but this car just looks like it might be a lot of fun on a summer day in LA or something silly like that. I imagine you would turn a lot of heads in a vehicle like this, but I almost think, JP, it would be the kind of attention you wouldn't want to have, like people looking at you like they want to be your friend because they think you're rich. This is just kind of weird me out. But anyway, JP, sinister looking car. What is going on for $400,000, $500,000 used luxury cars? How soft are they in today's secondary market? I thought that would be interesting to take a look at. And so I picked this car because this is about as opulent as it gets for something that's actually been driven. So JP, do you know anything more about these than I do? Because I really don't. They just don't
other than
interest
it looks
me.
like it was photographed in a what do you call it? Sopranos set.
Yeah.
I mean, it's in some backlot in New Jersey. It's like, did they bury the monster, the oligarch that they stole it from, and then took the car and shot some pictures of it? Why didn't this car wind up on PCAR Market? This looks like a PCAR Market listing. This car failed to sell back in October on Bring a Trailer, and they've agreed to list it again. I think what did it get to? Like 250 grand or something like that. And here it is.
258,000 with the exact same assets.
Yeah, they didn't update the assets. It's like, what the hell? I mean, it probably has something to do with the fact that, they tried to list it in October just prior to the election. They thought, oh, well, and people were pretty freaked out, and cars like this were definitely taking an ish. But Anthony from Oursmiths will be the first one to tell you he's selling a lot more Rolexes right now. So are these exotic types of cars, these super crazy ultra luxury cars, going to see some more money than we've seen in the past? Look, one of the things I wanted to bring up about cars like this is, like, we joke, this is a Russian oligarch car, right? I mean, this is something that you would see someone, maybe a Sultan of Brunei or something like that drive someone with just an obscene amount of money. And a lot of the cars, like in Russia, it's going to be interesting to see what happens with the car market because we're already seeing problems. Jaguar has enough problems as it is. Jaguar's numbers, like they used to sell a ton of cars in Russia, and BMW used to sell a ton of cars in Russia, and Mercedes used to sell a ton of cars in Russia, and so did Rolls-Royce. All these Western luxury brands did really well in places like Russia. But ever since the Ukrainian war and America and their stupidity doing this whole, they tried to sanction, or they're sanctioning Russia, not tried to, they are sanctioning Russia. They canceled the SWIFT system. So you can't, the Western companies can't sell their wares in Russia. Our sanctions took those markets away. And so now these Chinese companies are going into Russia and they're doing great. What is it? The Geary and the Mavich or something like that. There's a bunch of these Chinese manufacturers that were really having a hard time because they couldn't get a market share anywhere. Well, now Russia is wide open to them, so they can sell. They actually have a market that they can test their cars at. And Rolls-Royce and Jaguar and all these companies selling these luxury cars, part of the reason why they've been depressed in prices because half their market has been taken away. Boy, with all that said, what do we think this crazy Rolls-Royce will bring? Will they do better now, just a few months after they failed to sell back in October? What do you think, Deeb?
So a word about my understanding of the rules of the auction, JP, and these are unwritten rules. But like if you're bring a trailer and a guy brings you a luxury car and it fails to sell, let's say at $258,000, and just a month or two later, the guy brings the car back with the exact same assets and wants to try to sell the car again, the reserve is going to be set at the 258 or below because Bring a Trailer doesn't want to have another failure to sell on their website. So the idea is if you're going to bring it back, then we need to know that you're going to lower the reserve and they're going to force this guy to take a lower reserve. So again, JP, it FTS'd in October at 258,000. It is currently listed at $200,000 and it closes tomorrow. And it's just 6 bids. Last time when it FTS'd, it was just 8 bids. There's not a big market for $250,000 used luxury convertibles in the dead of winter. You know what I mean? Like this is a really bunk time to be trying to sell that car. And these assets are terrible, John. These are the worst. It does look like an abandoned airfield or something. JP, according to classic.com, the average selling price of a Dawn convertible that's not a black badge is $239,400. It FTS'd at 258 last time. I think he's going to regret not taking that. I think he's going to hit $240,000 this time, and I think it's going to have to sell because I'm guessing that Bring a Trailer made him look to have the only way we'll bring it back is if you lower the reserve. So I think it only hits 240, and I think it's going to wind up selling for that, and he's going to regret not taking the 258. So 240 to you, JP.
Bitcoin is over $100,000. And there's some people in the nerd herd saying, hey, people with obscene amounts of money don't buy used. And I couldn't agree with them more. The people that do buy stuff like this are crypto bros, or people with new money or people that can do it on credit. This is the kind of car that someone will leverage their crypto to go and buy. So I think this car is gonna do better than it did last time because crypto was only at like 60 grand or something like that back in October. Yeah. So there's some people that just made a bunch of money and it's burning a hole in their pocket. I think this thing's gonna do 260. But I don't think it's going to do a lot better than it did before, but I think it will do better. I think we are seeing a price surge. I don't think this car is going to do great. I don't think that exotic and luxury cars are going to see a ton of appreciation, but I think some of them are going to hold. This is a pretty damn cool car. If you're going to get a baller car, this is definitely the kind of car that you want. I think I bought my wife an Hermes Apple Watch that she never wore. So if you wind up buying this car, give me a holler. I've got a watch that matches this car. She'll even make you a guy's custom bracelet for it. All right. What do you guys think this Rolls will bring? Let us know in the comments below.
Did you see the comment Kenneth Borgensen said? He said, kind of like buying a used pair of supermodel panties.
Right. It's that's something that they would do in Japan. I think that's
absolutely
regular,
yeah.
All right, are we going to do the Porsche or the Sparro? I didn't. Has anybody counted up the votes here? I think
I saw a lot of Sparros. I didn't see anything for the Porsche.
I think a few people are like Porsche, but I think it comes down to it. We're doing the Sparro. We got plenty of time. Let's go ahead and do the Sparro car. Let's do a Sparro car.
All right, JP. So this car is apparently a one-off. That was made in 1984. What looks like to be a custom hot hatch is actually manufactured from used bits of a 1984 Ferrari 308 Quattrovalvo. So, but it looks like it has a shorter wheelbase to me. I don't know. I have nothing to prove that on. But the 5-speed manual and the motor and the rear-wheel drive are all out of a Ferrari 308 Quattrovalvo. So in Europe with, a lot laxed emissions controls, we're talking about 255 horsepower from a 3-liter, normally aspirated, pretty high revving V8, probably red lines at just under 8,000 RPM. And it's got the gated shifter. But you've got this car that you kind of look at it and you're like, it looks familiar, but I don't know what it is. It's got kind of a shooting brake look to it because the rear fenders stick out so wide. And because the fenders are so wide, you've got these really big rear tires with a deep lip on them and the upturned exhaust. This car looks cool from every angle. I really dig it. It's a bummer nobody manufactured something like this. And it sounds like the performance would be there. I imagine this is just looking at it, probably a 2,600 pound car. And JP, this thing, 250 horsepower and 8,000 RPM. I bet that thing goes. So super cool car. It's as you mentioned earlier, JP, the car is listed in Paris, France, with a Dutch registration as a 1980 Sbarro, even though it's technically an 84 Sbarro Super 8, a one-off hatchback by the Swiss builder Franco Sbarro. So there you go, JP. It was displayed at the 1984 Geneva Motor Show, and it's been sitting in a museum. So it's for sale, and it's cool, and it's already sitting at $135,000, John, and it's got 3 days to go. The car's gotten a lot of buzz. I even like the interior. It's kind of monochromatic, but it's dramatic, and it looks like a place I'd want to go have a lot of fun. If this car handles as good as it looks, I bet it's an absolute blast. So JP, I'll send it right back over to you. Any love for a one-off, Frankenstein kind of half Ferrari, half French, Swiss, whatever the hell this thing is?
For starters, everybody give it up to my partner RFK tonight for going through this. He's clearly losing in his voice, so you're doing a good job keeping it going there, Deeb. You're almost
the show
done.
Must go on.
Yeah, nice work there. This car definitely looks like a vaccine injury. This thing looks like a Scirocco had sex with an AMC gremlin. I mean, this is just like, what the ever-loving F is going on? This is kind of neat, but also kind of maybe... Oh, man, I want to make a joke that I can't make on... I'm just not going to make that joke. I want to love it, but it's just too damn weird. It's just too damn weird. I mean,
it's so 80s though. I mean, imagine showing up unannounced at Radwood with that. Like they would lose their mind. You know what I mean?
This is one of those cars where truly no one would know what it is. I've never heard of one.
No, me neither.
Yeah. So with all that said, I mean, the big problem is that it's in France. If this car were here in America, I think it would have the potential to do pretty darn well because of what you just said. People really like that young timer, 80s, 90s, anything that's really this funky. This would definitely be something, if you have a Renault R5 or something like that, or one of those types of cars, this even trumps those from a funky point of view. So all that said, what's it going to bring? Does it have any chance of really bringing a huge number being over there? I mean, literally, isn't the French government like literally collapsing right now? I mean, what's going on?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, we'll have to look into cheese factories and see how many of them are in there. JP, our car is sitting at $134,000 with 3 days to go. That's brought to us by 17 bids. Yeah, JP, could this car bring $250,000? Sure. It's irreplaceable. There's not another one. So yeah, absolutely. But because it's in France, and because it's a manufacturer that might not even be recognized by the American government, the cost of importing this car and getting it in is really going to hold back and temper bids. So JP, despite it being off to a great start, I'm just going to park my bid at $160,000.
Yeah, I mean, it's already at what, 140 something? So
134.
134. I think it has potential. What was your number? 160?
Yep.
I'm going 150. I think it'll get to 150. I think it has a chance. Why not? I mean, somebody in France wants this silly thing. I don't know. What do you guys think? Will a price surge help, or are you going to have to be pretty much drunk to bid on it? Let us know in the comments. And all right, we got a couple of minutes. Let's do the 964 very quickly, so we have it on the books. So we can talk about it more on the next side when we reconcile.
We tease cars and bids for not selling a lot of air-cooled Porsches, but John, there is currently a real no-nonsense listing. It's a 1994 Porsche 911 Carrera 2 Cabriolet with just 26,000 miles on the odometer. The car is listed out of Willow Springs, Illinois, on a clean Illinois title. So low miles, C2, manual, cab, .2 with cups. I mean, it's a really pretty car. The problem, JP, is who the hell wants to pay top dollar for a convertible out of Illinois over Christmas? And so I got a sneaky suspicion that this seller is particularly motivated to get off this car by Christmas. And with that in mind, I'm going to give you a low bid because I just think it's going to, I think this car could be had for a song. So John, according to classic.com, $54,700 is what a manual C2 cab is worth. I think this car is worth between 65 and 70 today, and perhaps a little more in the summer. But at this time of the year, JP, our car is sitting at just $45,000, and it closes tomorrow. So my bid is going to be just 58, just a little bit over the average. And I think this is an above average example. So JP, 58, and I think it sells for my number, even though I believe this car is worth 10 grand more than that number. I think 58 might be all it takes to pull this thing if you're willing to get it shipped out of Illinois in the wintertime. So JP, that's my quick take.
Yeah, it's a really nice car. Usually when we see C2 cabs, they have in white, they almost always have a blue interior, so it's great to see that this is a black interior. The low miles are great. So often the cabs, look, in the early 90s, Porsche was really proud of having all-wheel drive. Everyone was talking about all-wheel drive. Audis had their Quattros. Subaru was, nobody would shut up about all-wheel drive thing. So most of these cars got sold with all-wheel drive, with fours. So most of the cabs are C2s. I just sold my C4 cab because I really just didn't like the C4. And shout out to our good friend Mikey. He just got a C4 cab, his first air-cooled 911. So congrats to him. He got a really nice car. But because it was a C4, he got it at a reasonable price. I think the C2 is going to bring more money. I'm with you, Deeb. I think that it should be a $70-something thousand car if it were spring, but I think this is still going to do quite well because There's just not a lot of air-cooled cars out there at all. And this one's manual, has low miles, right color combo, and it's a C2. So I'm going to give it 60 grand. I'll say it gets there. I'm going to go 60,964. So I'll widen the spread just a little bit, and we'll end it with that.
All right, so JP, from 45 to 61, man, you got faith in Cars and Bids, little teeny timer.
Well, yeah, but I think that probably the people that are interested in this car are paying attention to it. I think 964.
Fair enough. Yeah, it's a nice car. It's a nice looking car.
Thing there is.
I'd love to have that car right there. That's a good looking car.
It's perfect.
I dig
Just the perfect all around 911 everyday driver, But all right, let us know what you guys think in the comments below. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks to my partner Michael Deeb, who struggled through an entire hour with no voice, just like RFK. And we are loving you guys. The holidays are coming up, so
be safe.
Be safe, be good, and we'll see you Wednesday night. We'll take it out. Well, should we take it out with Rami's our F1 car? Let's do it
F1,
one more time.
Yeah.
That's fun. All right, let's do it.